Welcome to Carried with Love, Building a Culture of Life After Loss, a podcast by Red Bird Ministries. Here we'll explore the beauty, dignity, and eternal value of every human life, and how the church can better accompany families who face the heartbreaking loss of a baby in the womb or shortly after birth. Together, we'll uncover what it means to truly build a culture of life, one that does not end at a dignified birth, but one that embraces the sorrow, the love, and the hope that follows loss, and truly honors the life of these precious babies. Hi, friends. I'm Kelly Breaux, founder of Red Bird Ministries, and I am so grateful you're here with me for this brand new podcast, Carried with Love, Building a Culture of Life After Loss. My hope is that you leave each episode inspired and encouraged to walk alongside the often unseen pro-life champions among us, those who carry the pain of loss and yet live out the mission of the church with courage and love. Together, we can build a true culture of life, restore life-giving language and action, and become gifts to one another. It has been a prayer of mine for the last year about creating a space where we can have difficult conversations on some of these very hard topics. Because when most people hear the words culture of life, they think of politics, debates, signs held outside of abortion clinics, or simply eradicating abortion. But here's the hard truth. A true culture of life is bigger than that. It's not only about preventing death or eradicating abortion, it's about honoring life, even when it is fragile, hidden, or lost before the world ever had a chance to see it. Everyday families sitting in our pews who wanted their babies walk out of hospitals empty-handed. Fathers go home with broken hearts and mothers with empty arms. Too often their children are dismissed as just tissue or a failed pregnancy, or worse, defined by the medical community as products of conception, classified as spontaneous abortions. Their tiny babies are discarded as medical waste. Their grief is minimized. Their child's dignity is forgotten. Miscarriage and stillbirth are not rare occurrences. In fact, miscarriages affect between 10 to 20% of known pregnancies. And in the U.S. alone, about 21,000 babies are stillborn every year. That's roughly about 1 in 75 births. And to this, more than 23,000 infants who die before their first birthday. And the reality is clear. These losses are far more common than most people actually realize. And yet, even though they are common, the devastation for parents is profound. For every statistic, there is a mother and a father who's grieving a child they long to hold, a life they will never forget, and an ache that's hard to be ignored. So let's pause for a minute. I want you to sit with these questions. Does your parish, especially during a Respect Life Month, honor the dignity of all babies who died in the womb or shortly thereafter? Do we remember them by name? Do we pray for them and entrust them to the mercy and love of Christ? Do we bury our tiniest babies? Do we make space for their family's grief? Or do we unintentionally send the silent message to families that only aborted babies matter? Or their children don't count because they weren't baptized? Or because their lives ended too soon? Inconsistency in advocacy, inconsistency in support, inconsistency in language has breathed death into a space that is supposed to uphold the dignity of life. What about the mother sitting quietly in her pew who recently miscarried at 10 weeks and is told her baby was just tissue? The church says nothing. What about the father who holds his stillborn son in the delivery room, unsure if anyone will ever remember that his baby lived? And is his son's name being remembered during Respect Life Month? What about the couple enduring infertility and secondary infertility, whose ache to bring forth life, but is faced only with silence from their parish community? What about the family who was given a pregnancy diagnosis and chooses to carry their child, knowing fully that their baby will die, either during pregnancy or shortly thereafter, and their child is never honored? Their heroic pro-life message never shared, their grief never acknowledged after they walked their Via Dolorosa. These quiet pro-life champions are too often left unseen, their pain unacknowledged, their wounds untended to. The inconsistency of our care echoes like a roaring lion of sorrow, striking deeply at the hearts of grieving families. These stories are rarely talked about in pro-life circles, but they are a part of the same conversation. Because if we are truly pro-life, then we must also proclaim the dignity of all life that was brief, hidden, or lost before the world ever got to see it. We are advocating strongly for equal care, equal support, and equal dignity for our mothers and babies. Not for some, but for all unborn children, every single life entrusted to us by God. In this series, we're going to explore many different topics, and I'm excited to share some of the things here today, what the church really means by a culture of life. So beyond politics, beyond debates, what does this look like in our communities, in our families, in our pews, the lived experience of what our families are enduring, the pain they're carrying, and how the pro-life movement can expand its vision to include accompaniment, not just prevention for all mothers, including mothers of loss who sadly are no longer patients of pro-life clinics and pregnancy centers after their babies die. We need to be helping these mothers have a dignified birth and a dignified burial. And how miscarriage, stillbirth, and infant loss and infertility must be included in the pro-life vision, the silent sorrow and the need for equal support and equal care for all families who are boldly living out the church's pro-life mission. The silent grief of fathers, siblings, and extended families, because grief impacts the entire family unit, and sometimes it can even affect a couple's openness to life. How are we walking with them after their loss? The language we use and how it can either affirm dignity or reinforce invisibility. How we talk about miscarriage and the unborn child matters deeply in the pro-life movement. The role of the church in offering rituals, liturgies, and pastoral care for grieving families has to be essential, not an afterthought. And how transforming grief into a witness actually builds a stronger, more compassionate pro-life movement. Each episode will offer teaching, testimony, reflection questions, and practical steps. So this isn't just about ideas or lip service. It's about action, putting our truth into work. And here's the truth I want you to consider. If we are Christians, we cannot stop at preventing abortion. We have to include pain of miscarriage, stillbirth, and early infant death if we want to accompany grieving families and send a pro-life message into the world. And if we don't, we're not truly living a pro-life call, the call that God asked each and one of us. And this podcast is going to stretch us. It's also going to show us a more beautiful, more complete vision of the gospel of life. One where no grieving parent is invisible, where every baby's dignity is affirmed, and where the pro-life movement becomes not only a movement of protection, but also of compassion, healing, and hope. So if you've ever wondered why families of miscarriage feel excluded in the pro-life mission, we're going to talk about that. And it's going to be really hard, but it's going to be so beautiful. And if you ever wondered, how can my parish better support grieving families in helping to build that culture of life? We're going to talk about that. And what practical steps can I personally, help to build a culture of life? You're in the right place here. So I want to invite you to join me for episode 1, where we'll unpack the foundation of this series. what do we really mean when we say culture of life? We'll explore how St. John Paul II describes it and why including families of loss is not optional. It's essential. It's critical to growing our pro-life message. Together, let's build a church, a world where life is honored, even and especially when it is lost, where every loss is mourned and every grieving family feels seen, heard, and embraced. Thank you for listening to Building a Culture of Life After Loss. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the journey ahead. And together, we'll discover how grief, faith, and love can transform the way we see life itself. God bless. You've been listening to Carried with Love, Building a Culture of Life After Loss. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. When you subscribe, you're not just following a podcast, you're joining a mission to restore dignity, heal hearts, and remind the world that every life matters. Every member of the church has a role to play in this mission. Together, we are called to build a culture of life. To help us expand this mission, I invite you to become a monthly mission partner. Your support allows Red Bird Ministries to reach grieving families with the love of Christ and hope of the church. Together, we can be a gift to those who carry the cross of loss. You can find that link in the show notes. God bless.